welcome back. Are you spending too much time in front of the TV? Are you spending too much time in front of your computer? Playing all those games? You need to get out, breathe some fresh air. And I know just where you could go. And so does my next guest. My name is Vin Dacquino. His name is David Steinberg.
Hey, Vinny.
David, you've been here before. Loved what you did. Tried a couple of your things. Tried hiking some of your trails. But since then, and it was really quite a few shows ago, you've revised your book.
Yes, I have.
And we have a brand new Hiking the Road
to Ruins.
And Hiking the Road to Ruins is a wonderful book. It's all about hiking. Tell me a little bit about the book and about you.
Okay, well, great. I'll talk about me first, Vinny.
Good idea.
I'm originally from Queens, New York.
Not much hiking going on there.
Well, yeah, actually, Long Island, sure,
Really?
there is.
Oh,
So, yeah,
Long Island,
absolutely.
okay.
And then we came up, got married to my lovely wife, Emily, and came up here to Westchester. And I've always been hiking. I've been led hikes for a singles group for many, many years.
Yeah.
And started exploring up here in the Hudson Valley, although honestly I've always been doing it. But I kind of zeroed in on stuff up here in the Hudson Valley and beyond.
When you say hiking the road to ruins, what are you talking about?
Well, what we're talking about are really destinations for hikes. The way I've always seen the book is it's a series of smaller goals that add up to something bigger, when it all works out according to the very high bar I've set for myself. And I would say probably out of all the chapters in the revision, I think I have 24 chapters. I guess I should know, right? Yeah. I'd say I really nailed it probably half the time.
In your book, unlike some other hiking books, yours actually have destinations.
Yes.
Places to see.
Yeah, that's right. Tunnels, iron mines, abandoned mansions. I'm really going for the big visual bang, really.
Yeah.
And being a photographer, that was always very high. A priority for me was to find stuff to photograph. But again, it's like a goal. To go on a hike like Beacon Mountain, for example, has a reservoir and it has the casino ruins up on top, and there are there were ruins of cottages high up on the mountain. So that's what I want to do. Is I want to hike to goals, because I find that for me, I'm very goal oriented. That to just walk around in the woods, is nice.
But it's nice to be going somewhere and to see something.
It's a motivation.
Yeah.
I find.
That makes sense.
And then once you kind of do the hike, when it all works the way I hope it does, it'll add up to something. All the other individual sites will add up to something bigger in some way, shape, or form, I suppose.
And it's also interesting, if you were to set yourself some goals, you could say, okay, next week I'm going here, the week after I'm going here, the week after, and this way you have sort of a plan.
Absolutely.
And instead of just saying, I think I'll hike the bike trail.
Yeah, that's right. And then even sort of more so that when you sort of put them all together, that also may add up to something different. Or hopefully you're going to look back on the project and say, I've really seen some interesting stuff. Hopefully, following the book. Or even, I know that people take the suggestions in the book and just do what they care to do with it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that some of the locations change.
Oh.
I mean, people are
gosh,
tearing
yes.
down and changing and building around.
Yes.
You have this beautiful site, and then behind it is an office building.
Then I can't tell you how frustrating it is as an author that you sit there and you do the research, and you lay it all out, and then literally the day the book hits the shelves, something has changed.
The site's gone.
To the point where in the revision I took out 2 chapters and I added 4 chapters. And the chapters I took out were for exactly that reason, that Long Pond Iron Works had some terrible storm damage just and vandalism that unfortunately just changed. Like I just decided to take it out.
Yeah.
but I added chapters as well.
Do you have favorites?
Favorite places to hike?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure I do. Harriman State Park has so many great places.
Oh, my experience with Harriman State Park is I went there, and I was with friends, and we were swinging on trees, and it was just so much fun. And it was getting dark, so we said, all right, time to leave. So we left.
Yeah.
On the way home, I reached for my wallet.
Oh, no.
It was gone.
Oh, no.
I said, oh my God.
Did you go back?
So I went back
You found it?
and went to the spot. It's dark. There's the wallet.
Yeah.
I bent down to pick it up. I stood up. My breath was completely taken away. Standing in front of me were maybe 30 deer, stiff, still, quiet, and staring at me.
Well, they were
And I was
obviously...
like, I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Oh my God, please don't hurt me.
Well, they were going to steal your wallet, obviously. So
Yeah, and they were just, it was like I was in their territory.
you can't trust a deer. Right?
No, and I realized that it was a totally different place than I had been in just before. So are there spots that you go to certain times of the day? Are some better like in the morning or at night? Or
I don't know about that, but I think seasonally some places are more interesting than
Seasonally.
others.
That's right.
Watchung Reservation in New Jersey, central New Jersey, has some really dark history associated with it.
Wow.
In fact, one of the better chapters when I talk about little things adding up to something bigger, I think
Yeah.
Watchung really, I really nailed it. That there's a Nike missile base, there's a site of a murder-suicide, there's the abandoned village of Feltville where David Felt sort of ran this village like a, if you remember, like a Pullman style where he had his own factory and people bought script from him, and that was going on over there. And to top it all off, if that's not enough, there's Lake Surprise, which as a fact has the floating body parts in the 1970s, and even not even all that far in the past, there was some more like legs floating in this.
Oh my
so
God.
so it's really pretty dark, and
Yeah.
and really sometimes the synchronicity works in my favor. That the day that I was there with my hiking partner Todd was it was in February, as I recall, or March, when there was like a lot of fog, and it was just sort of an overcast, gloomy day, and you can't plan this sort of a thing. That it was just beautiful synchronicity. God was looking out for me. That I mean, I just got put there at the right time to.
When I was doing my work on hauntings of the Hudson River Valley, someone said to me, you need to go to Ninum Mountain. You need to go up the trail to the fire tower.
Right.
You're going to see Ninum there. And I said, oh yeah?
Chief Nimim?
Chief Ninum.
Really?
I said, that's pretty tricky because he's been dead since the 1800s.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah. Did you see him?
David,
Then? Did you see him?
I
Vinny?
think he was there, man. I went there, and I'm telling you, there was a strangeness,
Right.
an aura. And
Did you hear anything?
it was more like I felt it than
Mm-hmm.
I heard it. And I felt the presence. I mean, I really did.
I can tell you a quick story about when I lived in Belrose. I lived in a two-story home in Belrose. Not get into the whole thing, but top floor in an attic. And we used to hear footsteps in the attic all the time, my roommates and I. And then there were a couple of times that I remember Alan, my roommate, coming to me one day where, I mean, for the most part, we sort of ignored it, but he came to me one day with just that look on his face, right? It's like, this is ridiculous. There's somebody walking around up there. And the funny thing is, there was a door to the attic, to the steps up, and every time you would touch that door or open it up, it would just stop, the footsteps.
Wow.
And this particular time was so pronounced that I used to keep a baseball bat under my bed,
Yeah.
just in case. You know, I'm not
Oh, I
looking
hear
to
ya.
beat anybody, but I grabbed the bat, thinking there was absolutely somebody walking around up there. That wasn't the only strange thing that happened to me in Belrose. That I was cleaning my room one time. Alan was there. His girlfriend was in his room. Alan, I guess, was showering or something. The door to my room was open, and my back was to the door. And Vinny, I heard a female voice over my left ear say, "Goodbye," just like that. And I said goodbye, thinking it was
goodbye!
the girlfriend, right? And then after a period of time, like just a few moments, I thought, well, I haven't heard anybody leave. And I go next door, and I forget her name was over there, and I said, "Did you just say something to me?" And she said, "No." Now the question: was it a radio somewhere? Was it a television?
Yeah.
Was it? I mean, who knows?
Never know.
But yeah,
strange things happen. Speaking of strange things,
yeah.
Stone chambers.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me about
yeah,
stone
tell me
chambers.
about these stone chambers. I've had some experiences with these stone chambers. Too.
Yeah, the stone chambers are fascinating.
And they're all over
to
Putnam
explore.
County.
And I'm really pleased to say that in the revision, one of the chapters is the stone chambers of Mead Farm, which you're well familiar with. Where we explore, we kind of go over the theories. Now, I'm not one of these touchy-feely, feel the back of the chamber, feel the energy kind of guys. I don't believe it's a passage to Andromeda. I just don't. But I think there's a lot of strange stuff. And
Yeah.
I lead hikes. There's a Hudson River Valley Ramble goes on in September and October.
Yes.
And I've just started leading hikes for them. And the Mead Farm is one of the places that I go to. And
now, was Mead Farm the place we went? You took me, or maybe King's Chamber?
No, that was, wow. No, you and I, we were looking for a chamber, by the King's Chamber. That's right. When you were knocking on doors, and yeah, that was very very cool. I'll never forget that. You showed me something that day, on how to interview people the right way, without being pushy or. Anyway,
you could tell. I mean, we actually visited the neighbors, asking, trying to find our bearings.
A particular chamber that I seem to recall.
It's amazing how willing.
Yeah.
People are.
Yeah.
When I was looking for George Denny's grave, there were people that lived around the cemetery.
Yeah.
And they were more than willing, and they wanted to hear the story.
Vinny, there's a lot of strange theories about these chambers. And when I was putting my research together for my hike, for the Ramble, when we were going through Mead Farm, I was looking at pictures I had taken of the chambers, and I was looking, just going online, getting some graphic material for the presentation. And as I was doing that, I had one of those brainstorm moments. Now, everybody has their crackpot theories, so I'm going to share my crackpot theory right now.
Good.
All right? These chambers have a curved ceiling. Many of them have a curved roof that'll meet the floor, almost like a football, sort of a shape with the door in the middle.
Right.
And not all of them have it, because no two chambers are alike, but many are similar but not alike.
Yep.
As I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, I'll be darned if this doesn't look like an eye, like the shape of an eye, okay? And if you think about if the chamber was backlit with somebody standing in it, I think that's a strange, iconic sort of a presentation, right? And if you think about all the chambers spread out throughout the area, all these eyes popping up along the landscape. Now, again, this is just my own thing, and I'm even going to go a little bit further. That's why the Mead Farm is such a great site, because there's the Washington Road Chamber. The Mead Chamber is a big, massive cut stone chamber with the cut stone construction, right? Then you have the other chamber down the road, the Washington Road Chamber, which is like a laid-up construction with, instead of cut blocks, the stones are kind of piled on top of each other, right? Now, some of the chambers have a bit of an alleyway leading into them, right?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
okay.
Yes,
so I'm looking at this other, and I'm looking, and I'm wondering. It's really interesting that some of them have this sort of eye shape, but then I'm looking at the other, which are a little bit more freestanding, which have that alleyway. And for people that maybe don't know what I'm talking about, I'd say there's maybe somewhere between a 5 or 6 foot passageway leading into it. In other words, it's not flat fronted, right? And I'm thinking, well, I'll be darned if this doesn't echo the shape of a pregnant woman, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, and the more I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, like, am I out of my tree over here? But I'm thinking, well, think about it. You have a pregnant woman, somebody walking out. I mean, I don't know. It's a little bit eerie, isn't it?
It is eerie.
When you think about it.
There's a wonderful book. It's really almost a manuscript.
Yeah.
That was put together by Martin Breck.
Yes, I've heard of it.
It's wonderful. I actually read the thing.
I've yet to see it.
Stick.
It's in the library, right?
Yeah, it's in the library.
Uh-huh.
It's in several libraries. It really is. I know that George Whipple, he sponsored it, and they made a number of copies. So they're available in libraries. If you're interested in the stone chambers, you definitely have to look at that. People want to say that they're nothing but root cellars.
That's right.
But there's too many things. I mean, some of them are at the top of mountains. Who puts a root cellar at the top of a mountain?
Let me go a step further. On the subject of the stone chambers, that I think that looking at the stone chambers is a lot like looking at trees, in my mind. That you go, all right, one tree looks just like another, right? And yet they don't.
Yeah,
They're
no,
all individual.
no,
And
they're-
each one of these chambers
Yeah.
has one thing about it that's different from everything else. For an example, I did a presentation at Teatown Lake Preserve, and somebody came up to me afterwards and they said, we have one of these chambers over here on the property. And I'm thinking, nah, you really don't. You have probably a root cellar. But of course I couldn't ignore it. So I went to investigate the chamber that they have, and as it turns out, they actually do have a root cellar on their property, but there's a chamber as well. There's a real chamber, right? And not only that, Vin, the part that just blew my mind, like really, was that when I went in to take a look at it, what I'm really trying to do is train myself to observe and not bring anything to the table emotionally, right? Observe
That's why being a hiker is so important. There's so many things to observe.
But what I want to tell you is that when I went into the chamber and took a look, I'm thinking, man, am I losing my mind? That the rear, I think it was the rear wall, is one solid piece of stone, and not only that, it looks to me like it's been rotated 90 degrees.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, it just can't be. So there was a geologist friend of mine that I called in to help me on this investigation, and we went in to take a look at the chamber, and I didn't say a word to him. I said, you just tell me what you're seeing in here. And and he corroborated. He goes, that this is because the grain of the rock was facing a different direction than the surrounding area. So you think about it, okay?
That's one thing I want to tell our viewers today. If you're looking for a place to hike, go check out these unbelievable chambers. Just chambers alone will keep you busy for a whole season.
It's a great destination.
It
really,
is. It's a
I mean,
great destination.
and for the book, it's
and
just
to go
perfect.
in and look. And I have to tell you, especially in the King's Chamber, I had that same aura that I had with Ninham. It felt like there was just some presence there.
A lot of people feel that way.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So what other sites? Now, where is Meat Farm, by the way?
Meat Farm's up here in Carmel.
Yeah, not far.
Wangtown Road, the end of Wangtown Road, and I guess Kent or Carmel.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm from East Chester. What do
Somewhere
I
up
know
in there,
about
but
this part of the world? By the high school, not too far from the high school over there.
Now, your book is filled with destinations. So looking at your book is going to help us to find places that we could go to explore this area. And it's basically this area, right?
It's Hudson Valley primarily, but there's also central New Jersey, central and northern New Jersey. Maryland, the C&O Canal in Maryland, one of my favorite.
Now, you just recently did an amazing trip to where, Africa?
I was in Africa.
Oh, my God.
And Israel and Jordan over the last bunch of years.
So you hike a lot of places.
We were not hiking over there. We were on tours, and the fact is that when you go off the tour, you get a lot of people upset with you, not the least being my wife, saying, "Where are you disappearing to?" Well, honey, I have my camera. I mean, but no, you don't go off trail. And
we just recently had a guest on the show who wrote a book on Kermit Roosevelt, who was President Roosevelt's son. And the two of them went on these amazing journeys to Africa, South America, and talk about hiking and hunting and safaris.
Yeah.
These guys were like the kings of safaris.
It's true. Rockefellers as well, right? And some of these guys don't come back from their expeditions.
Let me ask you a very important question. Some of the hiking that you do and recommend, is it legal to do?
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of areas where you're permitted
Yeah.
to go there.
I mean, just practically speaking, you can't write a book about sneaking into places. It'll just never fly. It'll never get published.
Yeah, so it has
in
to
fact,
be
it probably wouldn't
public
even get
access places.
Yeah, everything in the book is legally accessible. It's legal
Wow.
to visit. That's a prerequisite. Not only that, marked trails. It's meant for somebody with
Yeah,
some
you
experience.
could get lost out there, right?
Well, sure. Especially once you get caught up in the exploring, and really probably wintertime when the days get short, when it starts getting dark at 4 o'clock. You really need to be aware of the time.
And proper clothing, and I imagine you have to be careful of ticks.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Because there are a lot of ticks out there in this area.
Yeah, sure.
So there are precautions.
Yeah, DEET spray, 30% is what I recommend. But
So
there
you have
are
to
also,
hike smart.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. But like anywhere you go, Vin, with anything that you do, you need
to know what you're doing.
do a little homework. Do a little homework.
Read your book.
Have a plan. Well, I don't see why anybody wouldn't.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? I mean, you should. The book could give people good ideas on places to go.
Yeah.
That was really my goal. Was just good ideas. I'm not the end all expert.
And I imagine there's some that you could go to in an hour or two, and others that would take you an entire day.
Absolutely, sure. Cold Spring.
Which is such a beautiful sight.
Yeah, well, the foundry over there in Cold Spring.
Oh, yeah. And standing there at the end of that main drag, looking out at the beautiful
West Point Foundry. That's it. That's a great hour. I mean, you can take the kids there an hour or two. There's the historical museum up the hill that you can tie that
and
in.
as you say, seasonal.
Yeah.
In the fall, it's one thing. In the winter, it's another.
Right.
In the summer, it's another. And these places change.
They definitely change. Some sites are much easier to see the stuff when the leaves are down.
Yeah. I know that the fall in this area is just absolutely breathtaking.
And the thing is, as you're moving around and exploring, you're always going to find new things.
Yeah.
That's the like Doodletown is that kind of a place that I've been exploring it for years, and I just keep finding new things to see and people that know it
what
better
is
than
it?
I. Doodletown in Harriman State Park. That was the last tract of land in Harriman to become part of Harriman State Park. People were forced out of their homes in, 62-ish, I think, 1962.
So it's like an abandoned town?
Yeah, that's right. It's an abandoned town. There's not a whole lot standing. Like is the case with anything, after it was first abandoned, there was some structures, but then time and vandalism. And
I was amazed when I was doing the book on hauntings, and I was doing it on George Denny. There was no place that specifically pointed out where the murder of Wanzer took place. And up 301, going towards Cold Spring, especially this time of year, if you look to the right near Glenwood, you'll see the structure of the cabin that was Abraham Wanzer's cabin, where George Denny supposedly shot. And the stone structure, all these years later, was 1844, still stands.
yeah,
And when you go there, it's interesting.
it's just a matter of poking around, looking around, and
That's what it is. Poking around, looking around, keeping your eyes open, being aware that you live in one of the most beautiful counties in the world.
there's so much around.
There is.
And
There's a lot around.
Just the different eras of civilization, or that's probably not the right word, but the Industrial Revolution and
watching, you can see history by simply hiking the trails in Putnam County.
and everywhere around here.
Yeah, yep. All right, so any other final words? We're running.
No,
running
it
to the
can't
end.
be, really. I thought we had another hour here.
Oh, yeah, I know.
No?
It feels
All
like
right.
it. Any other points? I know you jotted yourself a couple notes. Anything that you forgot to say?
No, I think I would just encourage people to get out there and explore. That places just change
Get the heck off
all
the computer.
time. Get
Get
the
off
kids out.
those electronic devices.
Yeah, absolutely. And can I give a shout out to my wife, Emily?
Absolutely.
Hello, Emily.
And I know your
love
son
you.
was an active hiker.
You wouldn't recognize him now. Then.
Unbelievable.
He'll eat apples
he
off
came
both
with
of
us
our heads.
that day.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. He's in University of Rhode Island, sophomore year.
Wow.
Now, when did that happen, Vinny?
I know.
When did it happen?
Overnight.
Seems that
my
way.
grandson was in my arms
Right.
yesterday, and now he's 14 and in high school.
I don't know when that happened.
It flies. Time flies. So get out there and enjoy the world while you still can, while you're young enough to be able to do it. Go out there and hike. Breathe the fresh air. Enjoy the world you live in. That's one of the advantages of being in New York State. What a state.
Be curious.
We have
Explore.
huge falls. We have mountains. We have valleys. We have lakes and rivers, cities. You name it, New York has it.
Pretty much. I really cannot think of anything we don't have except maybe for deserts.
Yeah, and there's even sandy areas that are almost desert.
Yeah, that's Jones Beach, Vinny. That's not in my book.
Oh, the beach.
The beach. Yeah, we're not talking about that today.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Vinny.
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep writing about this. We want to make sure that people are aware, even if you already have a copy of Hiking the Road to Ruins from Let's Talk Writing Show back
Yeah.
when.
We need the revision.
Yeah.
You need the revision on your shelf.
This is the revision. This is different. It has more chapters than the other one had.
I added 4 chapters.
So they should read the book. They should get out there. They should see the ruins. Thank you for being here.
Thank
you
you.
for being part of it. Thank you for being here. Keep watching. A lot of wonderful shows to see. And go take a hike.